Good morning. This is the crypto day morning. Today's date comes in that of Wednesday, 20th of February, 2019. All bets, trades are alike within each his own risk and their own reward. And today I'll be putting up at least part number 6 towards the trading strategy series. The first 5 parts are in the more information box. So let's start off within Bitcoin, which is continuing within its move that I had a couple days ago. Couple pause days, a little bit of further extension. It hasn't made a new high yet today, but it has made a higher low, meaning today's low higher than yesterday's, which was obviously higher than this one, which was higher than this one, and this one wasn't. But overall, this uptrend has broken this resistance, all 4 stages of reversal of trend in place, as that would have occurred around 3760, and I like how it's held it. Bull market in the early stages right now. Weekly chart is in a little bit later of its early stages of a bear market. Stage 1, flatten out. Stage 2, support at 6,000. Back to the band for quite some time, breaking it, bear market. Now it's in a correctionary phase. And within such, we have it at the 18. If it's able to get above it, which is around 43 and change, yeah, we'll be looking at it trying to reverse its trend. And the monthly chart is on stage number 2 in the reversal. For we've been in an uptrend. Band flattening out was basically like May, April or so to October. Establishing support has just happened. It might establish it further lower. Stage number 3 is coming back to the band, either that of price or through time. Right now, the 18 average of lows comes in at about, I'll get the exact number. That would be that of 5,176. So that'd be the interesting correctionary spot on a more longer term time frame. Overall, this market has definitely been in the up move, and it's more of a neutral sideways play. And like this one was a sideways move, and when you have it, it's going to break it to one side or another. And just because it's at the lower end doesn't mean it's going to break it down. It still could. But the optimism right now for the daily chart is in play. But of course, just because it's a bull market doesn't mean it's going to remain in it. And it can go up to here and have its bull market run to that 5,000. And well, even if that happens and it's all said and fine and dandy, that doesn't mean just because the monthly chart is going into resistance, it's going to go down. In fact, this one came up to the 18 average of highs in here, and then it resumed the trend. So basically, I'm just going to keep it simple that, well, it needs to get well above 10,000 right now. For the 18 average of highs is declining in at 76, and on the long term, a clear break above it is about 10 for it to be in resumption of a bull market on the very long term. And as I got the Litecoin chart up, but just finishing off within such, when you have a situation where you have the very long term monthly, which was very neutral amongst a bull run, you have a medium chart, not as long term, but it was starting to possibly go bearish, and then the daily is now resuming a possible bullish trend. You get all of those indecisive factors like a bulls versus bears battle that is brewing on, and that's basically the state of the crypto market. Now, as far as Litecoin was concerned, when did this market turn into a bull run? And that answer would have been on January the 6th. Because band flattening out December 17th, establishing resistance here at this level on the Christmas Eve, come back to the band, and that's when it broke it. Now, it had a big sharp decline, and it did go below the 18 average of lows, but that's all it did. It had its one higher low correction, and so it was still trying to hold on to its bull run. And because this 18 never had any big push from its established support below it, which was obviously in at 29 in high change, then it kept resuming the trend, and well, it's been bullish ever since. So the bull market right now in time duration is January 6th to whenever it stops. Right now, it's of course this 20th of February. On the weekly, Litecoin is in stage number 2 for reversal of trend. And that's because the band flattened out all of this time. It tried to do it as it broke out at the end of the year. It pretty much flattened out middle of January. Now it's broken above, establishing a level of resistance, attempting to revert the trend. Stage number 3 is back to the band. Now that doesn't mean it's always going to happen, because if something like this happens and it could just shoot up like that, that's always in play. So you could be like, okay, I'm waiting for this to come back to this rising 18, and maybe it might even rally up to, say, 85, pull back maybe to 61 and meet it, and then break 85 again, and we're bullish. Okay, so be it. And then you could just be waiting for it to come back, and oh my goodness, it's at 140, it's at 280, it's even at 850. And then when it comes back to the band, it's going to go much below it before. And that's normally, I would say, if I was talking about stocks and all these other things, or talking about this back in 2010, as if that's ever going to happen. Maybe once in a blue moon, and well, with cryptos, maybe 625 times in a blue moon. Last night I did a video on cryptos and gold, basically the middle of the video last time. You can scroll to the end. I also had Bitcoin stuff at the start. But just to quickly go over what I think is very important within gold as it continues to soar and well past this 1321, a very key fib level. It's doing very well. Silver following, doing fine up to 16. But on the monthly term for gold, this 1320 line, which is this one in here, has been resistant several times. It's got an inverted head and shoulders similar look right at this neckline. And basically, as I'm stating, I would expect a really fast move up to this 1522, just probably only a few days. Maybe a couple weeks, 3 weeks. That's a long time if it goes above 3. Just because in situations like this, when you have resistance like this, majorly established, and then you have a Fibonacci level like this, noticeably above here, at this prior level of support, it's screaming to me that the likelihood it just goes right up to here, probably piercing nicely above, but it could hit it pretty much exactly. It's just, I mean, that happens more often than that should, but 1560 area, 1550, I would be expecting as the key level. 1550 to 1560. That's pretty precise. Let's move on next to EOS, which within this one here, band flattening out. This line is where established a level of resistance. So it's been bullish pretty much since, well, this is a judgment call. Was it a clear break on either of these days? Either way, it was a strong setup on the 10th and 11th. But definitely break of resistance by here. So bull market on this term time frame. When we view such upon the weekly, well, we're working on stage 2. And here's that situation. Well, this one here, this one worked out well because we can see on November 27th, or 2017, it went up to this point, came back to the 18, and then on this one here, so roughly at around 48 change. Back in 2017, it established a bull market, and its run went from 47 up to here for 2 legs higher, and the length of those legs were phenomenal. And since this bull market, here was a resistance check. It got in the 18, but never even attempted to break out. Thus 2 legs lower with this one here. Now, after all of this congestion in here, not breaking down, holding this established support shorter term in here, has had a very noticeable break. By all means, this it's in a bull run, obviously, on the daily. This could continue going. In fact, there's no reason short term to consider this as a top, but it will have to come down at some point. I'm not going to say more times than not it's going to come down soon, or it's not going to go up much. But what I will say is, just like in here, when you have it work for you, it comes down and it does meet the correctionary mode in one way or another, which is either price lower or sideways. And then it's going to go back up because resistance will always be established. And it gets above it, that's just phenomenal. Again, sometimes it could just go straight up, and it's just way too many times compared to like traditional markets from pre-cryptos. Theta is getting very interesting after this major high at the end of November, having like a circle U-shaped formation. This Fibonacci line, 38.2% from this low to this high. Resistance pretty much here. It was a pierce below on this one though. It was I guess it's barely a pierce above here. And and I say it's an exact hit when you pretty much can't tell the line. Either perfectly you can't tell, or it's below or above. But because there's a few pixels above that line in here, that's like right in here. There's lots of pierces. This is totally a pierce above. And within it, it's had a lot of congestion time within it, above and below this key point. Meanwhile, it's held the 18 average of lows on this last price correction yesterday. In today's session, it managed to make a break above the highs or have a gain. It's given it back, which tells you short term this is moving pretty nice. And then this is that key resistance point doing what it's doing. So now that it's just up and down chopped this move, it's only got to resolve one of two ways, up or down. And when doing so, breaking down below the support, I'd be expecting a pierce below 1870. Breaking above this level of resistance, I look at this, when you have a 61.8, there is three key levels. Lower high, batching high, and higher high. Lower high would be in this area here around 31, 32. Matching high is around the area of 36 high, 35, 37, 38. And if it breaks this area, expect a monstrous gain. 51, 75, 10,000 kind of deal. I mean, that's the rarity of the three. But you expect a fast move. Expect large size green candles, the 5-10 minute time frames, 20 minute, half hour, all that stuff to be extremely big up moves, because that's usually how it goes when markets, especially in crypto, when they break key levels. And Komodo, it's just been crazy how this one has been moving, and we'll see. And actually, I wanted to show Theta on the weekly time frame. I totally missed out on that. So I'll do that to finish off this. We'll do this on the weekly as well. And amongst it, there's been flattening out. Resistance established. Yeah, well, that counts. That was back at Christmas. Back to the band. You know, now do I put this in a bull market? Well, I'm going to say no, this doesn't count as resistance established, because if you're in a spot where you've completed stage 4, this band is noticeably in an uptrend. And this one's, the 18's just starting to go higher. As we can see, it's just curving up. So this is where you have to make the spot and say, this wasn't big enough, but this was. The 18 is now starting to rise. And within such, I'm going to even deem this as coming back to the band, even though it technically hasn't. I mean, we can see, oh, band is 22.59, the 18 highs, and this low is 23.001. I mean, no, it's mathematically higher, close enough. And within it, it's had some just wild moves. If I'm just going to draw a line right in here, and take a look at this again on the hourly chart. So we're talking about this move coming back. Close enough. I mean, this is a good, oh, that was a good enough correction. So therefore, within this, I can see, okay, I like the potential as this is on the 60-minute is played out. Because resistance established short term from after the decline. Support, well, it's almost like an uptrend on the support, because you have this one, and this one. And now, over the last 6 or 7 hours, it has been doing this great pattern of supporting this level, still showing an uptrend line, ascending triangle-ish. But even this is making barely higher highs too. The support is 18 highs that is starting to rise. This is a type of setup, which is just that, a setup that's looking like we might have some fast moves into here, like it has done so many times before. So finishing off back with Theta, this is its single hour time frame, which it's been having some moves and correcting right now within the 18, and it has been for several hours. But on its weekly chart, decline, band flattening out. I guess I can count this as established resistance at 3,700. Sort of. I mean, that was pretty large. Back to the band, okay. And now it's attempting to break it. But, this is still kind of too much even for cryptos. Therefore, as it stands, I'm going to count it. It's got to break that level of established resistance for me to, I guess, technically call it a bull market. Although, no, I mean, it's what else can I do? Well, what else I will do is this. If it does come back to the 18 with this being resistance, then I'm going to count this as established resistance. And then if it can correct this move in here, either through that or price or time, and then breaking it, and bull market. But as far as how this is working, I just put buy orders lower, sell orders higher, and let the market do what it does. Thank you for tuning in. Have yourself a great day.